Thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast.
Over 7,500 primary schools are already using Kapow Primary to boost confidence in teaching foundation subjects. Our expert-created curriculum planning, lessons and CPD are here to support and upskill you, whether you're a subject lead or classroom teacher. If you've got knowledge gaps in art, music, computing or beyond, we've got you covered. Head to kapowprimary.com and empower your teaching today.
Need a smarter way to teach? Wish your lessons had more impact? Eduflix.com. Stream educational films for teachers and students in or out of the classroom. Keep students engaged. No ads. No distractions. Try it free for 30 days at eduflix.com/try. Use code TTR. Get 50% off all orders made before June 1st. Eduflix.com.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Hi again, everyone. I have been away. I've been away for work. I've been traveling I've been on a couple of trips, but I am back again on the Monday morning break. It is truly good to be here. Thanks for listening in. Your support, as always, is truly appreciated here at Teachers Talk Radio. And as you know, if you're a returning listener or if you're here for the first time, we bring you thought-provoking and insightful conversations with guests from all over the world. My guest today is based in Bangkok, but I will tell you more about later. Now, we have many shows during the week by hosts who are involved in different areas of teaching and education. So, teaching and education. Now, I have always been curious. I've always been curious about teacher education and training in different parts of the world. And even though I have been teaching for close to 2 decades now, so really properly teaching, and I know lots of teachers all over the world, I don't pretend to know what the qualification journey looks like, but I'm very curious about how people qualify, how young people or people at any age, wake up one day and say, oh, I'd like to go into teaching. So what's this journey like? This is what I find so fascinating, that wherever you are in the world, this teacher education journey is different. So my own journey notwithstanding, I have 2 questions that I would like to explore with my guest today. My first question is, what's the journey between leaving secondary school, leaving high school at 19 to teaching in a classroom at, say, 23 or 24? So what happens in those years from, making this decision to become a teacher to actually being in the classroom? And my second question, and something that I think about quite often and, read about quite often, is, how do you actually learn to teach? Let's think about that for a second. How do you actually learn how to teach?
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The BBC covers calls by experts to ban no-ball games signs and protect playtimes during school breaks to reduce the time children spend on screens. According to the Raising the Nation Play Commission, children are being forced indoors onto digital devices, and they have called for an end to an anti-play culture. The Commission says that play outdoors in England has declined by 50% in a generation, because of streets dominated by traffic, fears about crime, and public places where young people are not welcome. The government says it is working with experts to develop a framework to improve access to activities outside of school. The report is calling for a national play strategy for England, and recommendations include a ban on no ball game signs, updating planning policy to require developers to consult with children on new developments, government guidance protecting play at break and lunch times, and banning practices like withdrawing playtime for poor behaviour. Opening up school playgrounds to the community outside of school hours, and raising the digital age of consent to 16. Paul Linley, chair of the Commission, says in England, we have made it incredibly hard for children to play. Both Wales and Scotland have already made it a legal requirement for local authorities to ensure enough opportunities are provided for children to play. Further details, comments from parents and other groups, and further data about play can be found online. Schools Week covers comments by Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson and union leaders' response to Ofsted's decision to delay revealing its report card plan until September. Ofsted had planned to publish its response to the consultation to reform inspections this summer, before introducing the new inspections in November, but now it says it will not be ready until early September. Ofsted had considered delaying inspections, but has since confirmed it will stick to its rollout plan for the new report card inspections in November, meaning schools may only have weeks to prepare for a changed approach. In a letter to Sir Martin Oliver, Bridget Phillipson said the delay was disappointing and warned he must give education providers a comprehensive understanding of the new arrangements before they are introduced, and ensure in-depth training of the Ofsted workforce. Paul Whiteman, General Secretary of NAHT Union, said the delay would place immense pressure on schools and called the decision bordering on reckless and one that could do real damage to the health and well-being of school staff. Pepe Diazio of ASCL said the idea that schools and colleges can prepare for a complete change in 2 months is frankly ridiculous, and Steve Rollett of CST said it was a real concern. In a letter to Bridget Phillipson, Sir Martin said Ofsted fully intended to make improvements to the proposed inspection framework, but they needed a little more time to complete analysis of responses. He also described the delay as regrettable. Ms Phillipson also used her letter to announce the appointment of former Chief Inspector Dame Christine Gilbert as the new chair of Ofsted. Gilbert led the independent review into Ofsted's response to the death of head teacher Ruth Perry, and said in that report that she found Ofsted's response to the death as appearing defensive and complacent. Further details and reactions on Schools Week's website. In Wales, a university's decision to give its Vice-Chancellor a 13% pay rise before cutting dozens of jobs has been criticised by unions. BBC Wales says Bangor University's annual report for 2023-24 showed Vice-Chancellors received a pay rise of more than £30,000, an increase described by unions as shocking and disappointing. In February, the university said it needed to cut 200 jobs to make financial savings. Last month, the Vice-Chancellor said this figure had been revised down to 78 as a result of what he called strict controls, voluntary severance and retirements. Unions have been unhappy that during financial difficulties, some senior staff were rewarded financially. Full details can be found on BBC Wales Online. Finally, many media outlets have reported that teachers in England can use AI to speak up marking and write letters home, according to new government guidance. Training materials are being distributed to schools, helping teachers to automate routine tasks to ensure they focus on quality face-to-face time with pupils instead. It also goes on to say schools should be transparent about their use of AI. Whilst teachers have already been experimenting with AI, it is the first time Department for Education has produced training materials and guidance. Details can be found across media outlets. This has been Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being with us, for being still with us. My guest today joins us all the way from Bangkok. Apapan Salai Bada is a qualified primary school teacher, and together we are going to explore the teacher education journey in Thailand, and she's going to share with us how she learned to teach. To teach, meaning the transfer of knowledge of teaching and about teaching to the actual skill of teaching. Welcome, my friend Apapan. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Come say hello. Say hello.
Hi, สวัสดีค่ะ Greeting from Thailand, well, Bangkok, Thailand. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest for today. Very glad to be here.
Oh, and we are really, really glad to have you here. It's not, it's not every day that we have somebody from so far away. I'm truly excited. I know I am. I'm excited to have you here with us today. And I really can't wait to hear about teacher education in Thailand. I don't know how we did not speak about this when I was in Bangkok last week.
First, we don't have much time when we met during the time in Bangkok.
Busy eating, right? That's all. That's all we did.
Maybe we can dig a little, dig a little deeper if we have time. But let's start the talk. Yes.
Yeah. So first of all, I hope you're well. Yes.
Yes, I'm well. Just came back from the retreat with my family on the weekends. It was fun to meet up with the cousins and relatives. So thank you for asking. Yes, I have enjoyed myself very much. Yes.
Good. And there you go. And you're ending your Monday with a chat on live radio with me. Tell me, can you describe to us briefly how a young person in Thailand would qualify as a school teacher? So if you could just give us an overview of the journey. They finish school and then what do they do?
Well, not just to go into details for a learner or for the students who interested to become either elementary or secondary school or tertiary school teacher. I think they have to make decision during their secondary school education that they really want to go into the teacher's track. Okay. So they will have to take the examination, which I believe that's very different in my time at the moment, at this period of time. They have to currently take something that we call Thai General Aptitude Test. Mm-hmm. And another test will be called Professional and Academic Aptitude Test. That's to determine whether they have, the good aptitude or the potential to thrive and succeed and to become successful in the teaching or not. So that's the score, just part of the score that they have to compare to collect.
So there's 3 tests that they have to take?
Two tests.
Is it just the 2?
2 tests at the beginning, yes.
Okay.
And the university will have the score as a set of requirement score that if they have enough to pass, then they will get into the university of their choice. Mm-hmm. That will be similar in my time, that if you have enough points in the certain subjects that they required, then you pass this entrance examination to enter the faculty of education in the university of your choice.
Okay, so they have to take 2 tests, the general aptitude and then the professional aptitude test, right? Yes. And they need a certain score for it. And they take 1 test regardless which university they want to apply to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Can they prepare for this test? Like in the US, they have the GRE or the GMAT, so certain tests. And I know students who just sit and prepare for these university exams. They just practice, and then they get a particular score. Would this be the same where you are? Can young people
I think they can prepare for the test, because for the first one that I mentioned, the Thai General Aptitude Test, it will be testing on the reading and writing in Thai language, and also as a English competency, whether they are good in reading and writing or not. Okay. And also for the Thai language, they have to do some kind of analytical skill, the questions asked, and they have to be able to answer something like that. So I think it's important that Thai language and also the English language are good enough to pass the exam.
So everybody has to do English. So everybody has to do the English exam,
Yes.
even if, wow.
Yes. English is
Wow.
our not the not it's very important to have English as a second language in Thailand. It would be crucial to be able to have the English competency, because
Okay.
I think for the tertiary education, it's necessary, compulsory.
Okay, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. Because like here in Germany where I am, depending on what university you apply to, some universities have an English requirement, just the standard. They pick a grade out of what our students would do at their high school leaving or at their end of secondary school exams. My university doesn't set a minimum grade for English, for example. You just have to have passed your if you take English as an exam subject at age 18, 19, at the end of secondary school, you just need to have passed it. And then we have private universities in Germany, because they can pick their own entrance requirements. A lot of the private universities have a TOEFL requirement, right? One of these external standardized tests. But you could, depending, for example, on what you wanted to study, for instance, English may not be a requirement. I think it's really, really interesting that anybody who wants to go into the teacher track in Thailand needs to have English. What about the professional aptitude test? What does that look like? And can someone practice or prepare for that?
I think there's a kind of textbooks that help you prepare for it, because back in my time in those days, I did not do this practice because I believe that I really, really want to become a teacher. So I should be able to have some sense. And once I see the test, I think they're asking kind of questions that if you really want to become a teacher, if your heart really set on it, you can do the exam questions. And I think that score helped me get into the Faculty of Education for the choice that I selected. So the score was, I believe that I did well in this part for this kind of test.
Okay. That's cool. I think I like the concept. I like the idea. It actually gets you, I suppose, gets you thinking as well, whether this is something you want to do. So that's cool. So they do their schooling, their compulsory schooling, they do these 2 exams, they get into the university of their choice.
If the score is compatible, yes. Once you get into the teacher education, you start your first year. So you're freshman, you have to choose your major then. Well, based on my experience, I have only one choice. Once I really wanted to be a teacher, and I set my heart on majoring in English. So I have to take another examination. It's like another mini entrance examination to compete with other students from other department to be enrolled in a major for an English major. So yes, another little mini exam that you have to pass to choose your major. English is probably the only major. I'm sorry if, please, someone you can correct me if I'm wrong. The only major at that time that you have to take the mini entrance examination to choose your major.
Okay, so as Apapan said, any of those of you listeners joining us from Thailand, if you want to add to that information or correct that information, just write it here in the messages, and I'll read out. So English is the only one that you'd have to take another exam in addition, but that would be once you have been accepted onto the program, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and when you say major, you actually mean that's then the teaching subject, is that right? Because that's what we would call it in Germany. You pick 2 teaching subjects, so they're the subjects that you would study to go into school then.
Yes, but since my bigger major was in elementary education, the elementary education was my first major. My second major was English. Because I'll be teaching English in the elementary or primary school when I graduate or during my practicum.
Okay. Okay, so that's interesting because in Germany, so like what we have is you get accepted onto the teacher education program, and if you wanted to teach in elementary school, you would then have to pick two out of four. I think there's a select number of subjects that we teach in primary school, in elementary school in Germany. So students would choose two from English, German, math, general studies, art and music. Yeah, so and religion. So they can pick from these seven two, and that then is called their teaching subject, and they have equal amount of content time, so to speak, in both those two subjects. And all students have to take a third subject, whether you're going to primary or second education. They have to take education science.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's
And our program is, I believe our program is 6 semesters, which is 3 years. So how long is your program?
at the moment. I believe it comes to 4 years for graduation. 4 years, yes.
4 years. And then you have a practicum
Oh,
in
the
between.
practicum, yes, in between. That comes in during the fourth year's undergraduate level. Yes, you will be placed in your practicum school. But
Okay.
for my major, there is a special requirement that you have no choice. You have to complete your practicum at the demonstration school, which is affiliated with Chulalongkorn University.
Okay, that's perfect. You should really think of hosting your own radio show. You segued into our topic so well. That's excellent. Okay, so if you don't do English as a major, you can do your practicum in any other school that's available, right? But if you do English, you have to do your practicum in the topic of our show today, demonstration schools.
So
Tell us
I would
about
like-
this now.
yeah.
What
I would
exactly?
I would like to add a little information before we go straight into the demonstration school.
Okay.
That for the first major was in elementary school education, as I already mentioned. The people who take the elementary education as their major will be doing their practicum at the demonstration school. But otherwise, for other students or other undergraduate students who choose secondary school education or arts education, they can choose to do their practicum elsewhere, because their first major or the main major is not elementary education.
Okay, but Chulalongkorn also has a demonstration secondary school.
Yes, but people tend to, they have other choices. That means they can choose other school. They do not have to choose the demonstration school, which has the secondary school in our area, in our university. They have other choices to choose, so they can go anywhere that they want, or maybe they have to choose 3 places, and then their advisor might give them advice which one they are appropriate for them. That's how I heard the history of choosing or selecting the school, because I have no choice, and my friends in the elementary education, we have to go to demonstration school, so we have no choice. But it's the best choice for us.
Okay. So now, before we actually go into demonstration schools, I just want to clarify something for my own understanding. And so, like I was saying, in Germany, if you wanted to go into elementary education, you have your education science as one subject, where, from what I hear from my students, you learn something about the psychology of learning. You learn about, I don't know, you learn educational history and philosophy and all that stuff. And then you have your 2 teaching subjects that you learn about in depth.
True.
I think it might be similar in other places in the world. You mentioned that what you had, or in Bangkok, you have what's called elementary education as a major. What's covered in that subject, so to speak?
Well, in terms of people who major in elementary education, what we study seems to be very similar to other people in other different departments. We study curriculum and instruction, educational philosophy, or even educational history or ethics. or even a little first, how do you say, pathway to research. But what we are different, I believe it's about the pedagogy, how to teach literacy, how to teach math,
Right.
how to teach social studies, how to teach arts and music in elementary level, because that's where we are going to be teachers at. So I think that's what makes us different from other departments. The
And that
pedagogy, yes.
cool. That also makes you different from what we do. I mean, I hear from many of my teacher candidates who are doing primary education because, they have, they do education science, and their subject, whatever it is that's covered in education science, is the same as it's the same for everybody, regardless what we call in Germany, regardless what school form and what level you go into. I mean, I could be wrong. It's all my information is from my students. And then in terms of the subject, for example, if they've chosen German and math, that would be literacy and arithmetic, but they're not introduced to it the same way as what you've described, learning how to teach these, learning how to read,
Okay.
learning how to write, basic numeracy to young learners. My students actually study it as an academic subject, and I think that's one area perhaps where we might be lacking in terms of our teacher education. Okay, so a person has done 3 happy years at university, and in the 4th year, they go into their practicum, and this person wants to do elementary education with English as an additional subject, and
Yes.
they go to the demonstration school.
Right.
Ta-da! I read a little bit. I read a little bit about demonstration schools, so
Oh,
they're kind of like laboratory schools, but I don't
yes.
think
That's right.
I don't think that's a cool name. Demonstration school,
Oh,
laboratory school. Mm, but that's
hence
not the
the
point.
name. Hence the name, demonstration school. Demonstrate something. Show us something.
Yeah.
Try
Okay.
something.
So what's the concept? Like, are all teachers in this demonstration school, are they all teacher candidates, or what's the concept? How does that work?
Actually, I think for the demonstration school, majority of the teachers, they are the products or the graduates from the Faculty of Education or School of Education at the university. Some might come from different other universities, but at our Chulalongkorn University demonstration school, we have a large number of graduates from School of Education, Chulalongkorn University, who decided after they finished their undergraduate, they continue with their master degree at Chula, and they tried out and passed the exam to become the teacher at the demonstration school where we graduated. So I think that's how the community and the professional practice seems to be very strong here, because
Okay.
I think we attract a very good candidate to become the teachers here.
Okay, so essentially you're not boasting, but you're saying
Oh, sorry, sounds
you
very
you
boasting. Sounds
you
very
recruit
boasting.
you recruit the best of the best, so
We
to speak.
believe, we hope, we believe, we
Ah,
hope.
okay, but tell me about the trainee teacher then. Okay, we talk about the graduate teachers later, but tell me about the trainee teacher. So what's their role? How does this practicum work?
Right. Let's go back to like 20 years when I was the student teacher. That's what we are going to share, right? The student teacher,
Yeah.
how did they get on with their life? What did they do during their day at the demonstration school? So practically, if you are doing your practicum at the demonstration school, you have to do nearly exactly what your professional teacher is doing. If
Okay.
I have to shadow, I had to shadow my mentor, my professional teacher, for the whole semester. But every day, before each day begins, I have to send in my lesson plans for her to check, because I will get
Okay.
the same timetable that she was teaching. If she was teaching English for 16 hours per week, I would get the same exactly timetable as hers, because I will be teaching for her. I'll be learning under her wings. So that's
Okay.
exactly the student teacher's role. You are teaching exactly the same timetable that your professional teacher or your mentor. And each
Okay.
class, I have to send in the lesson plans. I have to present the teaching materials. I have to practice my teaching in front of her before I can deliver my class.
Oh, wow.
Before I can deliver my lessons in front of the students in my classroom. So every day, every week, we have to communicate and we work very hard because I have no experience teaching the students before. So I have to
Right.
rely on her. But due to the fact that the demonstration school allows you to explore, allows you to use your imagination, your creativity, you can create a very fun learning materials. And I have to ask my mentor, can I bring this game in? She would ask me, what is the game for? What is the purpose
Ah,
of using? Why do you choose this one? Are you sure that the children will, or the learner will, how to say, understand the rules, understand the concept? She makes sure that I understand what I do in each class. So it was hard at first because sometimes I don't have the answer. Why do I want to bring in this game? I just like it. Oh, but it will affect the learning of my own students. That would they understand the concept? Would they actually learn English from the game that I introduced in the class? So everything went through my mentor, and she was
okay.
absolutely
Yeah. I think those are really good questions, actually. I think those are really, really good critical questions that you've been asked by a mentor, because I think if you were at the university classroom, right, and you learn about, say, materials design, or you learn, an aspect of teaching grammar, form, meaning, use, and you learn how to teach reading skills and all the different skills like reading for gist, skim reading, reading for detail, in the absence of any real little people to practice on. You don't really think about that, isn't it? And it's
exactly.
yeah, it's so good to actually have somebody there with you, who has to take the time, who takes
Who
the time.
reminds me
Yeah,
if it works, then it's all right. Let's try it. But
yeah.
sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes the rules that I set for my game was quite complicated, quite confusing. The student would raise their hand and ask, I don't understand. Can you explain
Yeah,
more? Or they have the perplex or the confusion on their face. I know that I have to rephrase. I have to understand.
yeah.
I have to explain one more time. So that's how I learned that sometimes adults speak their own language, but you have to simplify sometimes you have to simplify the language for the students, for the learner, in order to communicate clearly.
Yeah. That's really, I have to say again, that's really so cool, because this is where I think this is a situation in your practicum, and because it's so supported, it's so
Yes.
mentored, you're not on this journey yourself. I think I hear different things from my students who are on their practicum
Oh, thank you.
journey. I mean, first of all, their practicum is shorter and they don't do it till the master stage. But I think that level of reflection, that level of mentorship and guidance, we don't have it here. I mean, we have many excuses for that, which is obviously a conversation for a different day. But what stuck with me with what you were sharing is where your mentor asked you, why are you doing this? And it reminds me of something I learned not too long ago in a course that I was a participant in. The trainer asked us to think about our activities with the question, what makes this a meaningful
Yeah,
learning activity?
very
And
important. Wow.
right, and I like what you say. Sometimes we do activities because we think it's fun, and that's cool. I think, we should always do activities that are fun.
Yeah.
I think though sometimes maybe we forget, and there's a mismatch, right? So it's fun, but does it take our learner one step further? Does it, contribute to
Yeah.
their learning
what's the
experience?
what's the key takeaway? What would the students get at the end if I bring in this game? They have to be able to take away all the elements that I read, or the grammar, all the grammars that I want to teach, if I bring in
Yeah.
this game, will it help them to learn? If it does, and it answer all the boxes that I need to tick, I think
Yeah.
the game is meaningful and it will be good.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, that's something that I tell my own teacher candidates a lot in the 2 classes that I teach. We talk about activities, we talk about writing activities, doing activities with our students. And I mean, for me, it doesn't matter too much because nobody observes my teaching. So now and again, I can throw in a fun activity, just to lighten the mood. But I think, in principle, even for me, to throw in a fun activity in every lesson every week at the cost of actually learning something, at some point you kind of go, what's your memory of the class? Your memory of the class was, it was fun. But at the end of the day, if you want to ask yourself as a student, what did I learn? What is my takeaway? What can I now do in English, or, in any other subject? What can I now do? If you can't answer that question, then, fun is one thing, but maybe the activities weren't meaningful. So when you were in the demonstration school as an intern or a teacher in training,
Yes.
did you have a full workload? So would you be
I would
like,
at that time 20 years ago, I thought that it was a lot of work, a lot of things, many things I have to do. But once I compare that experience with the real life teachers that I became, I feel that the student teachers workload was a fraction of what actual teacher do in a day.
okay,
Because they are the student teacher, they're here to practice teaching. They're here to learn about how to manage the classroom. They're here to learn about the teachers. What is it? The teachers how to mark the paper or how to mark the
right,
students' homework.
right,
But they don't have to do. They did not have to do the action research, or have to do the complicated research paper. They don't have to do those kind. They just have to practice their practicum.
their skills.
Yes, their skills. But at that time, I thought that student teachers had a lot of things to do. So
Well, I mean, cognitively, it is challenging, isn't it? If you think about it, you've just, learned
fourth
in
year,
theory, you've just learned at university what teaching is about. And then, voila, you get thrown into a school and you've
yes,
never been there, right?
right.
And then I think there's a difference. I really think that there's a difference between having your own classes, your own schedule, teaching, and not talking to anybody about it, right? But for the trainee teacher, for the teacher candidate, for the teacher in practicum, you've got your schedule. First of all, you don't know how to deal with kids. You may have ideas, but you don't know how to implement them. You have to write lesson plans. That's all very already so cognitively challenging. And then to have that additional step where you have to speak to your mentor,
Yes.
right? That just that takes so much brain power, I have to say.
A lot of sometimes the expectation from the parents of the classroom that you're teaching
Yeah.
seems to be very it's quite overwhelming at that time, because once the parents know that, oh, for this semester my son, my daughter had the student teacher, some of them might be concerned, some of them might be very carefree and just not to have any worry in the world. But the worried one will show up on the parents night and ask your mentor a lot about you. What are you teaching? What is which high school have you graduated from? A lot of questions will rise on that day.
Oh my gosh.
Your mentor will be like your protector, that this is a very good student teacher and she is willing to teach. She will be your protector. At that time, I thought that, oh, I'm a very, very small person, and the students' parents, I know that they were demanding, but in a good way, because they want the best for their students. They're just a little bit worried that, oh, we had student teachers. teaching English to our kids, to our daughter, to our son? Is she really qualified? Is she really good? Is her English good enough? There will be questions like that.
Gosh, so the practicum teachers, the student teachers, they really come under scrutiny. That is actually a little bit scary, because it's not like that here at all. I mean, my kids come home from school and say, "Oh yeah, this year we've got a student teacher," or something like that, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but nobody cares. Like, it's like, "Oh, okay, you've got a student teacher," and then if things don't work,
Yes.
we kind of go, "Oh yeah, well, it's a student teacher, it can happen." I don't think I know anyone, or rather even my own teacher candidates, they've never come back with feedback that they've been under a lot of pressure from the parents. I think a lot of pressure, the pressure that parents, in my context, the pressure that they give goes on to the actual school, to the permanent staff, to the principal, but rarely, very rarely to student teachers. I think we kind of ignore them. I don't know. And I mean, my kids have had problems with student teachers, not mega negative problems, but we just kind of laugh it off and go, "Oh well, they're still learning." Okay, well, the next thing I want to talk about then is about the mentor, the role of the mentor, and how one becomes a mentor. But let's just hear from our sponsors.
Need a smarter way to teach? Wish your lessons had more impact? Eduflix.com. Stream educational films for teachers and students in or out of the classroom. Keep students engaged. No ads. No distractions. Try it free for 30 days at eduflix.com/try. Use code TTR. Get 50% off all orders made before June 1st. Eduflix.com.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order.
And we are back again. Those were our sponsors. John Catt Bookshop, 20% off your order. Now, we were talking, my guest and I, Apapan is based in Bangkok, and we have just been talking about the teacher education journey, and we're now in the 4th year of teacher education in Thailand, and in the 4th year, teacher candidates do their practicum. If I remember correctly, it's 2 semesters long, and one place where teacher candidates can, try out all, that they've learned about teaching, try it out with real students, is demonstration schools. So, Apapan, let's go right into the other. So we've talked about the students in demonstration schools, and for the rest of the show, I'd like to talk about the students, so the young people, the elementary school kids. Your experience is with elementary school, so we'll focus on that, and with the teachers, the full-time teachers, the fully qualified teachers who are the mentors. To the best of your knowledge, is every full-time permanent member of staff at a demonstration school also automatically a mentor?
In the sense, yes, but not every professional teachers will get a student teacher to do the practicum with them, because for example, for my major, my English language, we have only, at that time we have only 4 or 5 of us. So But in the elementary school, the demonstration school that we were doing our practicum, there was seven or eight English teachers at the moment at that time. So five of us would be accompanied by our professional teachers, but leaving only two professional teachers out. So they have to work that out within their own group who will get the student teachers. So not every teachers will have their student teacher.
All right. And you would have also, so you would have your mentor, say, for English, but you would also have your mentor, say, for the other literacy subjects, wouldn't you? So like for Thai or for math, would you have separate mentors for that?
Yes, definitely, because I also have to send the lesson plan to the second teachers, which was the social study. I choose Thai social studies because I wasn't very confident with math or science, so I have to choose social study as my second subject that I'll taught in demonstration school.
Okay, and do these mentors need to have a particular qualification? For instance, do they need, because if I understand you correctly, one could become a teacher just by doing the 4-year undergraduate program with the practicum in the 4th year, and then you could go on to become a teacher, right? You don't have to do a master's in education, do you?
It is required by demonstration school here at Chulalongkorn University. We require you do your master degree. You can after graduating from undergraduate, for the undergraduate bachelor degree, yes, you can join the school. You can, if you pass the exam, you become the in-service teacher. But then you are required. It's better for you to have master at demonstration school. Yes.
Okay, so to teach at a demonstration school, you would need to do a master's, and I suppose that would be because of the mentoring role that one might have, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. And it's better to hold a master degree of some sort of master degree, but better in education, at the faculty of education. It would be better for your career path.
And I understand that you yourself taught at the demonstration school after you qualified. Were you also a mentor then?
At that time, after when I finished my PhD, I came back. But before that, yes, I taught I was teaching there for 9 years and that's when I finished my PhD. Yes. So I hold a master already, and I would like to continue further with my study, but I love teaching at the school. So I stay full-time teacher and also the full-time learner at Thammasat. But that was taken on weekends, so it doesn't interfere with my teaching.
Okay. So you were a mentor then. You had to mentor trainee teachers. And how did you balance that with your full-time teaching and at the same time mentoring these student teachers? How did that work for you?
I hope she came in the room and listened to my talk as well, because she was very diligent and she worked hard. And how did I manage my time? Well, every day, Monday to Friday, it's a full-time working mode. I do not think anything about my dissertation or my study or my PhD. I just work Monday to Friday. And every day at school, I would talk to my student teacher, and I will look at her lesson plans, and I will talk to her if her activities seem to be compatible, or it will work with what she wants to teach, or how the behavior or the classroom management that she wants to have advice for, or if any concern or worries that she had, we will talk it through before she showed up for the class, because she will sit with me in the classroom. Every demonstration school, the teachers will sit at the back of the class. We like to observe the behavior. We like to observe how the students interact with each other in the classroom. We seldom go to the teacher's lounge. But we don't. We stay in the classroom. So if there's anything happen or anything that the students want, they can always come to us. But we sit at the back. We do not interfere with what's going on in front of the classroom.
Okay. But it helps them grow. I mean, I can think, I can, there's two ways we can think about it. On the one hand, we can think, oh my goodness, somebody's observing me. And I think that's how many people feel. I mean, I don't know anybody who goes, yay, I'm being observed today. So that there's always a bit of apprehension. But I think on the other hand, if you have a really, really good relationship between, mentor and mentee, then there's and you've got that relationship of trust,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Then the observation will have a totally different quality. The observation and the reflection before and after class will have a totally different quality altogether.
I think I agree with that very much. Yes, it's a trust between the students and the teacher, and the student, teacher, and also the mentor, that this is our small community.
Yeah. Did your student teacher stay with you for their entire practicum, because it's 2 semesters? So did they stay with you in the entire for their entire practicum?
In that year, only for 1 semester. For the second semester, she was assigned in different school, and a lot of comparison was going on. She always come back and give her reflection to me that this is how it's different from the demonstration school. This is how I feel, and this is the lesson plan that I have. We share informations, and I feel that for the first semester that she was with the demonstration school, she learned in a natural way, because her heart set on becoming a teacher, and I'm very lucky to have her. And I feel that she learned a lot it's like a discovery learning. She teaches the way she wants to teach, and I always let her imagination and creativity just do it. If you want to teach it this way, just let me check that all the grammar focus that we include everything that we need to teach. Then any games, anything she wants to do, I allowed her. She was a very good teacher.
Yeah, but I mean that's something, isn't it? That's something I suppose we often forget, or young people. I know that my young people sometimes, from talking to colleagues, they share that sometimes our teacher candidates just say to us, just tell me what I need to do, or just give me the tools, or tell me. They want to be told. And what I tell my teacher candidates very often is that I'm here in our class and I'm telling them certain things, but at the end of the day, they have to find, they have to be able to transfer what they've been taught at university to their actual classroom. But they have to bear in mind that they have to find their own teacher personality, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm the kind of teacher, I got into teaching not first through university, but I started out as an English language teacher. So through EFL, I taught in companies, I taught in language schools. I got my job at a time, in the 90s, where all you needed, and I'm not proud of it, because we're trying to change the narrative, but back in the 90s, all you needed in Germany to teach English was to be a native speaker of English. So it didn't matter that you didn't know anything about teaching. I mean, I did get some basic training, and a lot of what I do now has come out of that path, that trajectory. I taught first, and then I went on to do my teacher training. And I always tell my students, we can teach you, stuff out of the book. There are books about classroom management, but at the end of the day, if you're not like me, I go and stand in the middle of the room and I do these hand gestures that EFL teachers always have. And I say to my students, but if you're not that kind of person, don't feel that that's what you have to do. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Yeah, it's not you. Like you say, your trainee teacher, your teacher candidate found her own way, and we want our students to find our own way. The last thing I want to address is the pupils themselves, the kids in school. What do they think of the teacher candidates? Yeah,
They love them. They love my student teachers more than they love me because she's very kind. She always come in with games and with the candies, and she's very kind with the students and she understands them. I'm more like a guarded. I'm more guarded because I'm the homeroom teacher and I'm
right.
the mentor of my student teachers. So I cannot be fun and I cannot be fun and lively like my student teachers. So the students seem to be very comfortable with student teachers, and that's
Okay.
very normal at the demonstration school. They love learning with the student teachers because they are
Yeah.
very kind.
Yeah, and I suppose the student teachers come in with a lot more creativity, and there's a certain, isn't it? There's a certain youthfulness and energy to them.
The energy and
The
the teaching
energy.
material, the energy that sometimes I feel, oh, she's very energetic today. For me, I have to do a lot of work at night, but in the morning, oh, my student teacher is very energetic. I'm very proud of her because I was about to fall asleep sometime,
Yeah,
but she
I
carried
mean,
out the class very well.
yeah, I don't know. I think maybe that's just youthfulness. You know, that's just youthfulness. Um, have you ever had a situation where your trainee teacher got really stuck or really struggled with the class, and you needed to intervene, not because of the teacher not being capable, but just where maybe there were no dynamics and things were just very difficult? Have you ever had to intervene?
Yes. The incident still occur. That incident still linger in my mind because I had a class. I had an English. What is how we say that? We say English EP class. EP class is a class where the students speak English most of the time. They are not
Okay.
Thai. They are the Thai students, but they study in a special program where they study English in science and math. So the English is outstanding more than the regular Thai students. I teach
Okay.
English in this class. So whoever becomes my student teacher, they have to teach the EP students as well. And I found out that at that year, my student teachers seems to be the person who's not enjoying doing the teaching materials. She is a very good lecturer. She's very content oriented. She likes to write on the board. But this is elementary school. She told me that she did not want to do, I hope she's not listening. She did not want to do teaching materials. She sees no use of it. She confessed. I said, all right, let's see. If you want to carry out the class with no teaching materials, I allow you to do, but please remember that if the students react in certain ways, that I have to intervene. I have to ask her permission because she might feel self-conscious that if I intervene without telling her beforehand, and she accept my suggestion, and it really happened. No games, nothing. She lectured for 10 or 15 minutes for the grammar, subject, verb, object, and then you something like that, like on and on for 15 minutes. The EP students just stood up and they complained. They said that this is no fun. We don't want to learn. Something like that, but not in a rude way, but in a way that the student complained that, oh, no game. Why? This is not normal. And they all turn around and look at me and say, please carry on the class. Still normal, but a lot of complaints were coming, and she still continued keep on her lecture mode until the student walked out. One of the students he just left. I think he went to the bathroom. So I went along and asked him, and he said that no, he did not want this class because no games and no fun. So that's when I have to intervene. So all right, for today we will do something else. But pretend like as if nothing's wrong. I just asked her, all right, maybe the student teacher might need to take a rest for a little bit, and then I will give you some work to do. Let's listen to the story because I have some backup.
Yeah.
you never
Yeah.
know how the classroom going to turn out, but with the lecture base, the the mindset of you don't need any teaching materials. You can just shock and talk with the
Yeah.
elementary school students. It will never work. You can ask them to watch TV or program for 5 or 10 minutes, but after that, you need activities. You need something to keep them to engage with them,
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
them engage with the lessons. So that time, the student teachers were. Later, she decided she should have some games and she should have some activities in the classroom. But I did not want to tell her, in the face. That's
Yeah.
the lesson, and she learned it, and she remembered that feeling. When we talk
Okay.
later, that she feel really bad that the student ignore her, the student turn around, they did not face her. They say just this is what practicum is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trial and error, and if something happened, then we fix it. Next day, try to do. It will be a better day. So I think she learned a lot, and I don't know where she is right now, but maybe she wants to teach in the secondary school.
Okay.
Maybe it will suit her personality. That's what I was thinking. Maybe she likes to teach older students. Maybe that would be more suitable for her. But she's a
Okay.
very, very smart girl.
But
And good
there's just so much we can take away from what you've just shared. I think one thing for me, the key takeaway, and I really admire you for it, is that you've had that conversations with your with your student teacher. You had that conversation before you both went into the class, and that your student teacher had the trust and the confidence to actually also tell you that they did, they were not keen on creating materials, and that they had their own style, and at the same time that you, for me, for example, I would go straight away, go into protection mode, and I would, try by all means to convince my student teacher, no, don't do that, because it's going to ruin everything. But I think I really admire you for being able to take a step back as a mentor and to say, okay,
try.
that's what you think, and here's my opinion, and also for your mentee to say, okay, I understand what you're saying, um and we've talked about this, so that you go in, and you both go in knowing that things could go, in any direction. That's the one thing. And the other thing, what you've just shared is a totally different, something I would never have thought of, school kids in Asia, and elementary school kids, that they had the confidence, to come up and to say, this is not cool,
This
this
is not
this
fun.
doesn't work for us, that they actually did that. And what I think my takeaway from what you've just shared is at the end of the day, we've got to learn for ourselves, right? We've got to make the experience and learn from that.
Yes.
Um, time flies. Time flies. Look at that.
Right.
We've come to the end of our hour. But before we really finish, Apapan, if there's one thing you could change to the system, what would it be?
One thing I could change the system. The change, can it be the addition?
Yeah, sure.
The addition to the program. Maybe it's something about the teacher wellness, the psychological well-being, because I feel
Okay.
like even within this year, this century, a lot of student teachers or even the professional teachers themselves, they are very stressed about their job. They have to do research. They have to do a lot of planning. They have to attend many, many meetings, and they become very stressful about their job.
Yeah.
So if we can address something about the teachers' wellness, that to help them before they melt down, or
Yeah. Before they burn out, right?
before they burn
Right.
out, yes, for the future. And we like to have some kind of a supportive community, or even a policy from school, or even from the faculty of education itself, that to protect it's better to prevent than to cure later, that, oh, this person becomes very stressful and suddenly leave his or her job, or leave her classroom, leave his classroom because they couldn't get up in the morning to work because they feel very tired, very fatigued, did not want to come to school to teach.
Yeah.
So,
I totally understand. I mean, teacher well-being is something that we're recognizing is an important theme, not
yes.
just here in Europe, in North America, in Asia. I think we all teach differently, but it seems it's no secret that teachers have one of the most difficult jobs in the world. So thank you for pointing that out. We don't have that in our teacher education. We don't touch on that. And from what I know, growing up elsewhere, it's not something that was talked about. So thank you so much. That's all we have time for today. Thank you, Apapan, for being so gracious with your time. I've really enjoyed speaking with you and learning about teacher education in Thailand. It has been really, really interesting. Thank you also to all our listeners, all our live listeners. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, please like and subscribe to receive notifications of upcoming shows and to support Teachers Talk Radio. I'll talk to everyone again soon at some point. Have a very good Monday. Bye, everyone.
Great day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.